Here, and I'm going to pass the floor to Valeria, and once again, welcome everyone.
Thank you so much, Anna. If you don't mind, I will sit for this short introduction. I will give you about the project, and then there will be a panel with an advisory board member of the project and with one of the participants. I needed maybe some help to check that the slides are properly working, because I would like also to break the ice with a video that it's going to transport us in the mood of today's afternoon, and for those who won't be able to join the workshops, and will also take you to the premises, to our premises. We are the coordinator, and we are a fashion brand. We are a social enterprise specializing in fashion manufacturing. Behind the business, thank you, there is a social project, and the social project aims to create and foster sustainable employment for women. And in 2021, when we decided to kick off and start Worldplaces, 45% of our workforce and of our talent were migrant women. So it's a tribute to them and to their ability to, they show joining the company with low formal skills and then progressing to coordinators. But Worldplaces, of which Quid, my organization, is only the coordinator, is a broader concept. We aim to be the first EU network to bring together the two halves of the female working world, women who are accessing a new country's job market with low formal skills, and professionals who are keen to scout and develop their talent. We do so by bringing under one flag profit and non-profit organizations. Public sector is also an important lever in this dynamic. And the idea is that for-profit and non-profit organizations can learn from each other and exchange best practices to really promote migrant women, labor inclusion, access and progression in the workplaces and from within the workplaces. But as promised, now I'm gonna take you with a video to our premises and also to the mood, because networks are about people who meet, and of course the panels are going to be more policy oriented. I also don't want us to forget that there is this encounter between talent and talent developer who can really spark change. So enjoy.
Ultima volta.
So this was just to give you a taste of how we've used creativity, creative expression, fashion and design to reconnect women to their talents and to redefine talents and skills, formal and informal. This is of course beyond policies, it's really building policies by making people meet and exchange. And we're going to give a taste of this to you this afternoon. Now, Why workplaces? We know that migrant women are more likely to be unemployed or economically inactive than any other group in the EU. And those who migrate are often expected just to fill the gap in the labor market. And often this means, like Anna was saying, working in low-paid jobs and in unregulated sectors of the economy. And this means giving up the right to a career and settling just for employment. Whereas, as an inclusive employer ourselves, we believe that the concept of career, of being able to project oneself in a trajectory of growth and self and professional development is really important. And accessing the brave new world of employment and unlocking the potential, the transformative potential that workplaces have, affords the right support to employees as well as to employers. We experienced it ourselves in our experience as a non-profit social enterprise, that it's often locally, on a local level, it's non-profit organizations and the public sector providing assistance, vocational training, and a first gateway to employment to less formally qualified migrant women. Fewer of these women, however, access long-term quality employment in the for-profit sector, which can grant greater stability, independence, and autonomy. Furthermore, what we notice, because we work a lot as ethical suppliers of for-profit brands who are working towards their sustainability policy, we realize that the increasing relevance of diversity, equality, and inclusion programs within the new sustainability reporting frameworks and the staff shortage is putting pressure on the for-profit industry to attract and train migrant talent. So we saw an opportunity and we realized that we were the missing link between talent, migrant women's talent, and opportunities. So these two halves, profit and non-profit organizations, are not perfect. Like in any couple, in any good partnership, partners are not perfect. But if they work together, and if we work together, we can truly support the access and progression of migrant women in a new job market. And so we did it. These are the partners that will tell you in a video what each of them has done. I will also give you a short overview. And that's the range and extent of the network as it is now and its hubs. So now a little bit about the governance and the concept behind the project. We identified 4 key areas in one's work and professional life, in migrant women's work and professional life, where barriers are high. These are lifelong learning, training, and leadership, which is essential. It's a true game changer to switch between just employment and a career. Language and culture, life and community soft skills, and last but not least, sense of self and identity. And that's the reason why we are proposing this afternoon to work through creativity and self-expression to redefine one's resume, CVs, expectations, and dreams, as well as professional past. As non-profit, we've designed and piloted processes and services, as well as training programs that from within the workplaces can support the integration and progression of migrant women with low formal skills in the job market. And then we've disseminated them to a larger community of non-profit stakeholders, mostly HR professionals or entrepreneurs, with the support, where possible, of the public sectors, that in some of these hubs is a key stakeholder in making migrant women access training opportunities. We worked with methodology partners to academic as well as advocacy organizations and think tanks that have led on the methodology. They are the know-how leaders. Then we have action leaders that are the non-profits leading on a threefold process, piloting and implementing the processes and solutions that from within the workplaces can support migrant women's access and progression on the job market, They've disseminated these best practices, services, and processes to the for-profit sector, and by doing so, they've created a network. The network has established itself as either volunteering schemes or active ambassadorship schemes, where for-profit professionals have become, together with migrant women, an active part of the Worldplaces community. Then civil society was also reached through dissemination, through an online academy, powered by the academic partner University of Vigo, as well as experiential events like this afternoon. So what did we do in practice? Because then we also need to be very concrete. And this is just going to be an overview, because in a video our partners will tell you from their hubs, and they are here today, to what we've been implementing. So the three methodology partners have developed toolkits to guide non-profit and for-profit organizations, as well as incubators, in developing services and processes that respond to migrant women employees or prospective employees' needs. All the toolkits are available on our website, as well as on a portal called Inclusion, and were disseminated through the Worldplaces Academy. Instead, and these are the know-how partners. Instead, for what concerns the action partners, in Italy and in Verona, which is the main hub, we've worked in collaboration with the public sector, so there was a strong collaboration with the public sector to strengthen the connection between migrant women and concrete employment and training opportunities with a training bursary scheme. Within our factory, our manufacturing factory, we've instead piloted a lifelong learning and training program led by our migrant women coordinators and involving migrant women employees, and a welfare support desk, because welfare and legal status are of course essential in granting retention and continuity to employments and careers. And then all the wealth we've developed through this pilot, we've shared with the corporate partners through experiential events, but also through more technical trainings, targeting HR and diversity and inclusion employees. And here are some of the corporate employers, really, and corporate organizations we've been training. The project has not come to an end yet, but so there will be more to come. But these are some of the corporate partners and ambassadors. So in Greece, instead, in Athens, a curriculum was developed in 7 parts, targeting soft skills and community skills. It was piloted with over 90 women and then transferred to the for-profit sector in more formal trainings targeting HR professionals again. And here are some of the corporate partners that were engaged in the partnerships, as well, of course, some data about the migrant women also involved as participants or ambassadors to the program. In Portugal, instead, the pilot was slightly different, so corporate partners have been guided in setting up culture and language exchanges on their premises that were targeting specifically migrant women out of employment. And this was an extremely fertile exchange, because beyond cultural and language exchanges, then more training and employment opportunity were offered by companies to migrant women. And these again are some of the corporate partners involved, and some more data about the migrant women who participated in the pilots. So there is one last part of migrant women's journey in the workplace, which is sense of self and identity. And it's really important, because it's the self-confidence and self-awareness that allows one to dare and to aspire. And this is something we've tackled through our specialty, through beauty, creative expression, and design. And we hope you'll be able to stay with us this afternoon to experience some of the work we've done through a campaign, an online campaign through this workshop. These jackets workshops, the jackets you see here are outputs, technically speaking, outputs of and deliverables of the project. And we're not going to give you any spoilers about the workshop itself, so I'm not going to start the video. And here's some more data, numbers really, about the number of participants, migrant women participants we've reached, and civil society and corporate partners we've been able to reach so far. But what I wanted to share today is not really about figures. Figures are important, of course, but the idea is that now that the project is coming to an end, we would like to develop further, scale it up, and replicate it in other countries. So if any of your organizations is interested and believes that joining forces with the public sector and the for-profit sector can actually create those continuous pathways of careers and employment that can make women's talent shine, we are happy to partner up and to think about the phase 2 of the network itself. And we want it to be a network where policies are made through encounters and exchange from women to women. So that was a short overview about what we've done, and from the partners now. From the house, the price based in Verona, manufacturing fashion, but behind the product and the business there is a project that started at life, which is making our job markets more accessible to those talents who are less visible. And 40% of our workforce is made of migrant women with no formal skills, and that's the reason why in 2021 we decided to start Worldplaces, the first EU network together to us of the job market, migrant women who are accessing new employment in a new country, and women who are already thriving in this market. We are the coordinator of the Worldplaces network, which is co-founded by the EU Asylum, Migration and Immigration Fund. Building a network, especially if we do it from scratch, is always challenging. There is a lot of mapping, there is a lot of engaging, there is a lot of advocacy, but there is also the challenge to design moments and occasions to share, and to share on a deep and informed level. That's been a challenge, so designing the events formats with which we are engaging the ambassadors and mobilizing the ways they can contribute to the Worldplaces project. That's been, of course, the challenge, but the big opportunity was the openness, generosity, interest from both the public and the private sector, especially HR and diversity and inclusion professionals, to transform our job markets, making them more accessible for migrant women with low formal skills.
Ciao, I'm Mary, one of the founders of the NGO working with women and people in tailored training. In WID and in Worldplaces, we designed a welfare officer in which we are helping men and women to reach and be aware about their rights. Thanks to Worldplaces, we are now filming the most important crisis about welfare, and so we can, in a way, have the possibility to scale what we are doing and also to spread in other companies, both NGO and for-profit companies. One of the goals of the Worldplaces project is the creation of a network between NGOs, society, and for-profit organizations. I can say that this is also still a challenge, because to face some challenges, migrant women need all the community and all the society. So we have to continue in the creation of a network and of a culture of inclusion.
Hi, my name is Tom. I am Global Capacity Building Lead at Impact Hub, and through the Worldplaces program, I have been working with my team to develop a guide for business support organizations to identify ways to enable more inclusive workplaces for migrant women through the programs and services that they deliver. And I have also worked with my team to host a webinar about this. I think this guide has really helped us identify best practice in our network, understand insights emerging from these, and feel confident about sharing these with other organizations and teams. One challenge was actually finding the best way to crystallize all this learning into something coherent. So hopefully, the output indicates that we've been able to do this. The project has also helped us here at Impact Hub sharpen our self-awareness, I would say, as ecosystem builders for an inclusive economy and society. And of course, the webinar series has been a fantastic resource for our practitioners to dive deeper into design thinking and reflect on what they can do to make their organizations and services more inclusive of and supportive of migrant women. So thank you, Worldplaces, for the opportunity.
Generation 2.0 for Rights, Equality and Diversity was founded in 2013 as a non-profit organization with the aim to support in different ways the inclusion of people of migrant background in Greece. Our organization, with great joy, participated in this European co-funded project because it combines so uniquely, for the Greek context, gender and origins.
I met Generation 2.0 last year, and I was in the Department of Diversity in the Workplace, so I ran the project of Worldplaces concerning the inclusion of migrant women, which was awesome because I was very opportune and grateful to meet women from such different backgrounds and realize that there are a lot of stories that haven't been told, and it's important to be aware of them through projects as this.
Through the implementation of the employability program back in 2022-2023, addressing exclusively the needs of women of migrant background, tools and trainings have been created for companies and organizations to support them in including women employees in their workplaces. Thanks to the Worldplaces program, we have deepened our knowledge in service provision towards women and produced tools for companies that will be added to the Generation 2.0 toolkit for the years to come.
Hello, I'm Ricardo and I'm CEO at STEAM, a Portuguese social project that promotes the integration of migrants and refugees to a language and cultural exchange experience. In December 2021, STEAM joined the Worldplaces program together with other European partners that are committed to supporting unemployed migrant women to get closer to the workplace in their host countries. During these two and a half years of the program, we were able to generate long-lasting partnerships with companies from the private sector and civil society organizations that allowed us to generate a positive impact in the lives of over 120 migrant women in Portugal. Through the course of the program, we've been able to adapt and improve our methodology and solutions by learning from the experiences and needs of beneficiaries, as well as from the feedback and suggestions from facilitators of the activities we've been carrying out. It has been wonderful to see the progression that most of the beneficiaries experience over time in their sense of belonging in Portugal, in their knowledge of the language of Portuguese, as well as in their confidence in finding a new job and accessing the labor market. Nevertheless, this journey wasn't without its challenges. The main challenge was the difficulty of interacting with public institutions to reach the target audience in a timely manner, which prevented us from being able to integrate a larger number of beneficiaries in more cities across the country. In addition, it was complicated to make a match between the availability of the collaborators from private companies who had to integrate these activities from the program within their daily workflows, and the availability of migrant women who generally had to deal with other personal needs. Despite these challenges, it's been a pleasure to have seen and follow some great success stories, such as the one of Jacqueline, one of the beneficiaries of our Portuguese language roots, who was offered a job at one of the companies that collaborated in our activities after completing the full program.
Hello, I am Anissa Araba, and I am an ambassador for the Worldplaces project, representing the European Network of Migrant Women. Participating in this project has brought to our organization invaluable insights and resources, and especially the creation of a comprehensive set of toolkits which enable us to continuously build the capacity of our member organizations, which are engaged with migrant women all across Europe. Overall, the Worldplaces activities and workshops have reached a numerous amount of migrant women, providing them with essential skills to thrive in their new environment. What I believe is also that the holistic approach of the Worldplaces project, and notably the specific focus on fostering solidarity and sense of belonging, is absolutely inspiring. Of course, this journey has not been without its challenges, and the main one that we collectively faced was maintaining the engagement with our target groups. Indeed, migrant women often face multiple responsibilities, and it can be very challenging for them to commit to long-term initiatives, projects, programs, which in turn are going to benefit them. So we had to refine our outreach efforts and our strategies to really make sure that our content was adapted and tailored to benefit all of our beneficiaries in the best way possible. In the end, the resilience of the women we work with has motivated us to continue our efforts, and I think we can say that overall the results of the Worldplaces project have been tremendous. Thank you.
Now I'm calling to the, let's call it stage, one of the participants of the project in the Verona Hub, Christine Anongo. Thank you for reminding me of the slides. So Chris will in fact speak in French. And I will ask her questions in French. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I will start. That's also a nice way to exchange skills. Chris, veux-tu te présenter et nous disant comment tu t'appelles, d'où tu viens et qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Ok, bonjour à tous. Moi je m'appelle Christine Anongo. Je viens de la Côte d'Ivoire et je suis arrivée en Italie à l'âge de l'adolescence. Et je suis mère de 3 enfants. Et actuellement, je travaille dans le team avec Valéria. Je m'occupe d'organiser certaines étapes comme vu qu'on organise assez d'événements. Donc, je m'organise du catering et des fois, j'aide également à regrouper tous les documents qui servent pour d'autres choses.
Merci. Veux-tu nous parler de ton parcours professionnel? Vous le racontez en 2 parties. Une première partie dans laquelle les organisations publiques et les volontariats vous ont soutenu. Et une deuxième part dans laquelle vous êtes entré dans le marché du travail.
Okay.
C'est la première partie.
La première partie, ok, d'accord, merci. J'ai été formée en tant que travaille dans le secteur du graphique. Genre, en italien, on appelle ça legatoria et imprimerie, dans le secteur de l'imprimerie. Et j'ai travaillé dans ce secteur pendant 14 ans. Et pour diverses raisons, après ça, j'ai arrêté de travailler. Mais en 2018, je me suis réinsérée dans le parcours du travail avec le secteur public où j'ai été caissière, j'ai travaillé un peu dans le tissu, dans le recyclage des vêtements. Et ça, c'est un peu mon premier parcours. Et ça, c'est la première partie. Et maintenant, dans la deuxième partie,
On commence avec Worldplaces.
Oui, j'ai commencé avec Worldplaces. Et j'ai connu ce parcours à travers le bureau de l'emploi. Et j'ai fait une formation dans la société de Quid, et proprement dans le bureau du team de Valéria. Et j'ai fait 2 mois. Après ça, j'ai eu la proposition d'un emploi où j'ai refusé parce que j'avais un but précis à obtenir. Donc, de par ce parcours, je suis rentrée à travailler dans le bureau de Valéria et en faisant, je suis passée d'abord dans le bureau où on fait beaucoup de sélection de tissus, la composition, tout et tout. Et après, je suis arrivée dans le bureau de Valéria où je fais un peu le support des documents administratifs qui servent.
Merci.
Merci à vous également.
Is there anything else you want to say, to tell us? Otherwise, I will go to the next speaker, and then we can take questions, maybe.
Ok. J'aimerais dire à toutes les femmes de ne pas perdre espoir, mais de se focaliser sur ce qu'on aime. Parce que, et de ne pas baisser les bras devant déjà les premières difficultés. Parce que des fois, on se trouve devant des personnes qui nous disent non, nous n'avons pas d'expérience, que nous ne pouvons pas le faire. Mais si on est focalisé sur notre but, on peut y arriver. Merci.
I will call then to the stage Delphine Opedion, who is also our advisory board member, cultural mediator, activist and founder of Weavers of Hope, an organization that's active in Italy, the south of Italy, and that shares a lot with both our mission as Quid, but especially with Worldplaces. So, thank you. And yes, I think the idea is maybe to have an overview from you about the challenges and opportunities of labor inclusion and labor integration of migrant women. You have your own experience, you bring to the table literally, your own experience as a woman as well as an activist. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I really appreciate you people that are present and also the you people's unwavering effort in making sure that migrant women have their own life per se. As a migrant woman, we all know that the definition of migrant women is so broad. And if we want to speak in general, we cannot actually live here, and that is why there is division of this definition, because there are so many women that came to Europe for different purposes, for different reasons. Okay, and I want to speak on the part that I want to dwell on, because being a survivor of sex trafficking and prostitution, I want to speak on their aspects, okay? Then when you're talking about survivors of sex trafficking and prostitution and about their integration into the workplace, we have to take into consideration three aspects. One of these aspects is that they are survivors, they are faced with social stigma in the society, and that is made of unreasonable judgments, unreasonable discrimination, and they always check to fit into the society. They always check for acceptance. They always dare to check for recognition, and also they always check, to be able to combat social rejection, because they are always labeled as that main survivor or victim or whatever people mentally recognize them with. Then, and it becomes very difficult for them to integrate into the society. In the second aspect of the survivors that want to integrate in the society as a migrant woman, you see her being a survivor that is faced with the challenge of stigmatization. She's also faced with those challenges that a migrant woman will face in the host country. This makes it to be very complicated, like structural factors that impairs a migrant woman from fully integrating in the society of the host country, like integration factors such as language barriers, discrimination that she may face, such as legal impediments that she may face, because there are some, in many countries, before you can work, you need to be documented. You need to have their own resident permit before you can get access to a job. Then apart from that, let's come to the aspect of being a woman and the problem that most women face, that we all commonly call gender problems. Then a survivor of sex trafficking is going to confront these three criteria. Number one, being a survivor. Two, being a migrant woman. Three, being a woman in a society that hosts her. And she has to combat the gender also unmatched jobs that do not match her experience and her qualification. And also the fact of language barrier, she may likely combat deficits in her place of work, making her to find documents that she knows nothing about. And also, there are also some aspects of the rights that she may not know. And also as a migrant woman, she may not also have that support because she has to balance working with her family responsibility, and there are some places of work that have policies that do not really give time for her to effectively work. And as a result, not having this kind of support may deprive her from proper work.
And maybe something about opportunities as well. So
Then we have
balance
to know
challenges
that
and opportunities.
apart from having all these challenges, we all know that there are opportunities, because opportunities that we can translate in strength of a migrant woman, because you see that in spite of the setback, in spite of the difficulties that most migrant women face, but they are able to come up, to overcome all those discrimination, all those humiliation, and they are able to come on to embark on the reintegration programs. They are able to engage themselves in activities that help them in personal development, that can help them as person for their own well-being, and also for the well-being of their family. And also there is one important aspect that I want us to understand, that the integration of a migrant woman is a mutual benefit. It benefits both the migrant woman in the aspect of well-being and empowerment, and it also benefits the community in the aspect of its socio-economic development.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, we are happy to take questions for the next 5 minutes. So if there are any questions now, you're more than welcome to raise your hand. And then at 12, we are starting with the second panel. So if you don't have any questions at this stage, there will still be some time at the end of the second panel to ask questions. So. Yes, please.
I'm Diana from the Commission.
Yes.
Hi, Valeria. I have a question for Impact. Because one of the, well, first of all, thank you for the great presentation and also for all the interventions this morning. I had a question about the next phases of the project, because you mentioned towards the end of your presentation that you are looking about the possibility to replicate and to expand. And I was wondering if you had already maybe some strategies on how to continue and disseminate about the project and the result and the toolbox, or yeah, if you can let us know a bit more about it.
About this, so I'm yes, because the translator is connected from this laptop, so I will shortly rephrase the questions. So the question is about the sustainability of the project and the possibility to scale it and replicate it. So the idea, it could be either to include more countries within the network, or to also a strategy we are considering at our companies, because we target several vulnerable groups, to replicate the same structure of piloting best practices and then disseminating it to the for-profit sector for other vulnerable groups, migrants or not. But in terms of diversity and inclusion, is a model, is a format that works very well in terms of empowering the non-profit sector in developing best practices, where the non-profit sector is leading really the inclusion, and then transmitting them to the for-profit sector. So one option could be to replicate it for other vulnerable groups. For instance, we are also working at the moment on migrant men that have very different needs to migrant women, and now are at risk of slavery, of labor slavery in Italy for reasons different from migrant women. So this is one option, to replicate it within the same organizations, since all of our organizations target several groups. In geographical terms, the idea could be to share somehow the know-how of creating programs that can bridge the gap between profit and non-profit sector, and in fact, one of the toolkits that will be developed from the Worldplaces Academy. So the Worldplaces Academy was a bit, so we gave it a different twist in the end. We planned it one way and then we implemented it in a different way, because we realized that it was really interesting for profit organizations to come to us and then launch a challenge that non-profit professionals could solve. So that's another idea. That we can, and out of those webinars, we are developing a toolkit to guide non-profit organizations who want to cooperate with the for-profit sector, and so that will be disseminated or piloted in other countries. But also, I believe, and I think also our Greek partners and the Portuguese partners will also agree, so speak a generation to rights, equality, diversity, that there is a lot of potential in ambassadorship scheme. So it's great to have for-profit professionals, rather than the big corporates, the people actively working on diversity, equality and inclusion programs, because they are likely to transition from different corporate organizations, and if they stay in touch with the non-profit organizations, then it's very easy to see how one organization after the other, there is hybridization and contamination, of course, a good contamination in this respect. So the idea, I believe that there is a lot of potential in this scheme, so being able to disseminate that know-how, so how to create and cultivate that network and make it work, it's really interesting. Also for financial reasons, so for economic sustainability, because then corporates are able to contribute with funding, and in that way there is an opportunity to create a co-design and collaborative ecosystem that can work towards and in favor of inclusion and integration of several vulnerable groups, not necessarily only migrant women, but yes, so that's my answer. I hope I haven't spoken too fast for our translator. Sophie, forgive me if I have. So, if there aren't any other questions, we can take questions, of course, after the second panel. I will leave the floor to the chair of the second panel, Alissa, and also I will remember, to move the slide. So Alissa Arabare, who is legal and advocacy lead at the European Network of Migrant.
Thank you so much, Valeria. Thank you everyone for these presentations that we heard so far. It's really nice to be here, to be able to present what happened through the Worldplaces project, because it's coming to an end. But we will keep, I think, collaborating with the amazing organizations and women that we met through this project. So my role today is merely to introduce our guest speakers and to let them explain their area of expertise and what they do with regards to integration of migrant women in their different contexts. So first of all, I would like to introduce Giuliana Benedetto, who is a policy officer working on legal pathways and integration with the European Commission Directorate for DG Home. Welcome. So Giuliana will speak about policies and measures at EU level regarding integration of migrant women.
Hi. Yes, hi everyone. Sorry for stealing some time for questions already. And thank you for the nice introduction. Yes, I'm a policy officer at the European Commission, I work in the Director General for Migration and Home Affairs in the integration team. And in our team, we work on several integration policies: access to housing, health, education, access to the job market for migrants, but also integration as a horizontal topic. And indeed, we also focus on the integration of migrant women as a specific, let's say, category or group of migrants. One thing that I wanted to say before giving a short overview of what we actually do in this area is that, as this was mentioned already in the morning, in the first session a few times, of course, we recognize that migrant women is a large and diverse group, that the individual experience of each woman is different, of each migrant woman is different, that the overlapping of different categories of discrimination, for instance, being belonging to a certain cultural group or being a refugee, all the level of identity that are overlapping contribute to create a very different and individual experience when it comes to being a newcomer to Europe. But of course, it is important that we take as European Commission an intersectional approach towards the designing and the interpretation of integration policies. And another thing that I wanted to mention is also what are some of the challenges that we have been studying in the past few years at the EU level, so via the studies and research that we have commissioned, and of course via the interaction with advocacy groups. Of course, we are aware that despite this individual characterization of the experience of newcomers, there are common challenges when it comes to being migrant women to the EU. Some of these challenges, of course, been mentioned already. It has been mentioned that also they change depending on a number of variables, including the migration status itself, the residency status of being a refugee, being a migrant, having or not having documents. It all complicates the picture, but there are some patterns. Some of them have already been mentioned. We know that migrant women are more likely to come to Europe as part of a family, so they may have more domestic responsibilities compared to their male counterpart. They might have then more challenges to access not only the job market but also training and upskilling, reskilling activities. They are more likely to be overqualified once that they start working in the EU compared to their male counterpart. The Joint Research Center, European Joint Research Center, has recently conducted a study of the migration gender gap that shows that 80-85% of men migrants, they land a job compared to 60-65% of women. So there are structural challenges. And of course, one issue that has been mentioned is this idea of the layered discrimination that might be faced. This is something that also OECD, for instance, acknowledged in some of their research, talking about the tribal disadvantage of being a woman, being a refugee, and being a migrant all at the same time. So, of course, there are a lot of complex situations that come into place, and one of the activities that we do is also trying to study and map all of this in order to have a more informed policy making when it comes to actually produce policy and recommendation for European countries. So what we do, apart from mapping and collecting this information, is advocacy. So the Commission comes to different fora to also represent and advocate for the specific challenges and needs of migrant women. We facilitate the exchange between member states, for instance, but also between local regional authorities, cities, regions, to really discuss about this topic as much as possible. And we do funding. So support specific projects like this one with the objective to improve the situation, raise awareness, and try to support the integration of migrant women. We do this in DG Home mostly via transnational projects like this one. So we published Call in 2019 where we had 5 projects on women, migrant women and integration. We published one Call in 2023 with a specific angle on labor market inclusion, where we encourage this gender dimension. And we also should be publishing in 2025 a new call with a specific focus also on migrant women integration. There are also other funds that can come in this topic, not only DG Home, but also other services. They promote funding. Another thing that we do in terms of policy, it's really recommendations and support to member states in this area. And our flagship document is the Action Plan on Integration and Inclusion, which is a policy program that goes from 2021 to 2027, putting forward some actions that are recommended for member states, civil society organization, and also some commitment from the Commission side on things that we need to do to improve the integration and inclusion of migrants. And this action plan has an horizontal gender dimension, but it also has specific actions addressing the needs of women and women refugee and girls on the move, and also to really trying to capture the intersectionality between the migrant status and the other segment of discrimination that we have mentioned before. This is true for integration in the labor market, but also other actions. Like we focus on access to health, access to housing, and also, most importantly, participation in social life. And we really encourage and highlight what are the next steps to be taken to support not only migrants, but migrants women specifically in this context. I wanted to be short, so I also wanted to maybe mention very quickly some of the lessons learned that we have captured from the project that I mentioned before, because I think some of them also resonate very well with this specific project. So the projects that we have funded in the past, they try to respond to different questions. How can we support women entrepreneurs? How can we support migrant women who are also parents and who are mothers? And how we can support the cooperation of integration service providers in order to improve final outcomes. Despite the large kind of number of questions that these projects try to answer, I think some of the conclusions and the lessons learned are really true for all of them, and they're really staying with us in our policy making. So one of them is that we are aware that women migrants face specific challenges, and that they need tailored support. Like they don't fit necessarily in the category of mainstream support that are offered to everyone. They need extra effort in this area, and this is extremely expensive. It's extremely expensive for the member states, for the local authorities, for the NGOs and civil society organizations that work in this area. So it's a very resource-intensive activity. But at the end of the day, what we saw that works really well, it's really the cooperation between the different levels of the service providers and of the actors involved, the involvement of the private sector, and that's why this is something that I also bring with me from this specific project, because I think it worked really well also in this sense. So yes, I think those are my main takeaways, but I'm really eager to learn more towards the continuing of the morning session and this afternoon. And yes, thank you so much. I'm also happy to take questions on this specific policy area if necessary.
Thank you so much, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning the issues also related to legal status of women, because it leads to situations of violence and dependence of the migrant women towards either the husband or the employer in these situations. And I know several legislative initiatives that are currently being discussed address these issues, such as the Victims' Rights Directive. And we will see in the end if this remains in the final agreement, but this is a very important issue for us. And also mentioning the need for a cross-sector approach, but also specific actions, and that's an issue, like you say, to convince municipalities and governments, etc., to invest in this, so it's a really important point to mention. Do we have any questions from the audience before we call the next speaker? Okay, so thank you so much, Juliana. Maybe we can take some questions after anyway. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the support also of the European Commission. I will switch seats so that I can keep an eye on the time. And I will call the next speaker, who is Justina Seges-Frelak. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So Justina is Senior Policy Advisor for the Legal Migration and Integration at the International Center for Migration Policy Development. She is an expert in labor, migration, governance and integration, and especially the integration of female refugees in Poland and the implications for the labor market. So this is the topic of her presentation today. So Justina, are you in the room? Oh, she's online, okay. So she will do a remote intervention now. Hi Justina, can you hear us? Okay. Justina, can you hear us? The floor is yours if you can speak. Okay, so if we have oh, okay, go ahead. Yes.
I can hear you now, but I can't see you.
I think it's fine because we can see you and we can hear you, so please go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm just to flag that I didn't see you and hear you before, so I'm not sure what you've been discussing. There were some issues, I think.
So Justine,
are you here?
Yes, we can hear. We had a presentation from a representative of DG Home from the European Commission, just basically giving an overview of the different barriers and obstacles faced by migrant women in accessing various rights, such as the labor market, healthcare, and so on. And now I think you will make a specific presentation about the integration of migrant women in Poland. So you can go ahead with your presentation.
Yeah, I will specify in the second. So hello, and I'm Justyna Seges-Frelak. I'm representing International Center for Migration Policy Development. We are based in Vienna, and today I couldn't be with you in person. I'm sorry about that. But thank you anyways for this opportunity. So when it comes to discussing labor market integration, I believe it's interesting to have a closer look at the context of the temporary protection and the situation of Ukrainian refugees, specifically female refugees, and I've chosen this topic because here at ICMPD we have been actively engage in addressing various issues related to, for example, implementation of the directive, exploring potential exit strategies, but most of all, labor market integration of this group. And we have just finalized the field research on the integration of female beneficiaries of temporary protection in exactly Poland, but also Austria and Germany. I was covering Poland, as you mentioned. And I believe this perspective could add valuable insights to our conversation. But before I zoom in on the specific shall I continue?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Because there are some interruptions. So before I zoom in on the situation of this group, I would like to share a couple of points to consider. So first of all, what we think is that the activation of the directive marks a significant milestone when it comes to the discussion on the reception and integration efforts, approaches. Why, and I think it's widely known, is because it provides Ukrainian citizens with a quick access to essential services, but not only that, it gives them access to the labor market opportunities, contrary to the asylum seekers. Furthermore, the directive facilitates mobility within the EU, allowing them to seek out places where they can communicate effectively or find promising prospects. So again, this is not the case for other refugees. And here we should also remember about the possibility of joining networks in the whole EU, and such networks are of course critical source of help and support integration. So these approaches are characterized by their immediacy and emphasis on early intervention. So we know from the past experience that acting early is key to supporting successful integration. And indeed, when it comes to the labor market integration, we see that it has occurred more rapidly compared to other refugee groups, with those in working age in employment exceeding 40% already early last year. And of course, these positive outcomes on the labor market are not only associated to the policies that I listed, but also to other factors such as, for example, prior experience in hiring this group, especially in Eastern Europe. But what is also interesting, that apart from strong support from civil society, but also private sector, we see that also many national and regional local governments in Europe have joined these efforts. They responded in many creative approaches, including, for example, flexibility on skills requirements, especially in sectors such as education and healthcare. So here I mean mostly allowing female refugees to work as doctors, nurses, but also teachers or assistants to the local teachers. What's more, and this is also important to note when we talk about the integration outcomes, is of course that all these measures have been introduced in a time of acute labor shortages in whole Europe. Yet, despite numerous efforts to help this group join the labor market, they still face significant challenges, and I will just list a couple of them. So first is of course the underemployment as a major issue. So for example, PAC research found that more than 40% of beneficiaries of temporary protection in Czechia held jobs that were lower qualified than their previous positions in Ukraine. And this mismatch can lead to skill loss and missed income opportunities over time. So it can be acceptable short term, temporarily, but not in the long run. Second, maybe obvious, but still language barriers pose significant challenge. So here, according to FRA Eurofund survey, more than 60% of them struggle with language when seeking jobs. And finally, we cannot, of course, forget about care obligations, and here it's not children only, but also elderly, that limit job opportunities for this group. And just to give you some figures, Deloitte reports on Poland indicates that more than half of them traveled with children, but only 24 had access to childcare services. But now let's turn our attention back to the policies. So what we observe in our monitoring is that while member states broadly provide access to all rights guaranteed under the directive, there are significant discrepancies in the quality but also scope of services provided, and there are significant differences in integration measures, particularly regarding work-related support. So some countries prioritize immediate labor market access, assuming eventual return, and therefore they don't invest in long-term support. So we call it a quick and dirty approach. And in contrast, in other member states, the integration courses are provided, there are language programs, qualification recognition, to secure employment according to the skills. And this, of course, takes time, sometimes a lot of time. And there are also many middle ground approaches. So generally, countries adopting the first approach, this quick and dirty, they have higher employment rates, but more overqualification. And here the question is which approach is optimal, especially given the conflict nature. That remains to be still answered. The other issue is, of course, the temporariness, and we see that also in the interviews that this becomes more pronounced over time, because uncertainty about the future, it hinders the ability of this group to really commit to longer-term employment opportunities or invest in education, upskilling, reskilling, etc. But this is also very relevant for employers' attitudes and their willingness to invest in training, but also when it comes to offering permanent contracts. So overall, the challenges related to temporariness, they influence all aspects of life, of course, beyond work, but also influencing housing situation or education of children. So looking ahead, several questions arise. So should integration approaches be mainstream targeted? Is fast tracking labor market entry or building skills and qualifications first more effective? So some pros and cons I explained earlier. But what is especially relevant for this group is also the stability of someone's status. So the idea of allowing status change to foster sustainable solution is apparently gaining traction in a couple of member states, but we don't observe huge interest among temporary protection beneficiaries, possibly due to the eligibility thresholds or the change of rights, because in many cases the status change, more stable status, is mostly offered to those with jobs. So in conclusion, while the the directive provided flexible tool for reception, early integration. It allowed for mobility. Yet we think that continued temporary nature of stay might jeopardize these positive effects on integration that I listed. And last week we also heard that the Council welcomed the proposal to extend the temporary protection for Ukrainians until early 2026. So we see that actually nothing is more permanent than the temporary, and this is the case for this group, and it influences the integration into the labor market. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justina. Thank you. And I just want to mention that your analysis is all the more important in the light of the new Migration and Asylum Pact that was adopted in last April, and that takes basically the opposite approach than the directive that you described. And we saw that the flexibility, the mobility, the access to the labor market that is facilitated has had positive impact, although with some nuance that you described. And that's not at all the approach taken by the Migration and Asylum Pact. We are actually really worried about the impact that it will have in the next years on migrants, and specifically migrant women and girls. And so I believe that the work that you're doing, the monitoring of the impact of EU-level texts, I think it's extremely meaningful, because these data are going to allow us to advocate for positive change. Thank you so much for your presentation. I know we have to move on with the time a little bit, so we will take questions after. And before I introduce the next speaker, I would just like to give the floor to Anna, because she has some information to share.
Thank you very much. I will be very quick. I just wanted to let you know that before you go to the lunch, at the lunch break at 12:20, we have, and I hope you saw it on the program, a choir. It's a choir by Ukrainian women who are, mostly all of them are refugees who arrived quite recently. The name of the choir is Doля, which has two meanings. Somebody who, maybe if you studied music, you know these are the key notes, a kind of combination of two, do and la, but also it has a meaning as a word which can be translated roughly as a fate. And it can be a very difficult fate. And so these women will be here. They will be also performing, I think, tomorrow in Bozar. They've had performances in the European Parliament and the European Commission before, in the embassies. So please do not rush after the panel ends to the lunch, because we're going to have them coming on stage. We will remove the table and there will be 15-20 minutes of their performance here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you again, Justina. And now we will, you can clap if you want. And now we will go to the next speaker. Her name is Mehtab Agour. I asked for the pronunciation, but I think I felt that. Sorry. So you are a senior researcher at the research department of the European Trade Union Institute, and also a research fellow at the Institute for Labor Economics. Your expertise is on the field of migration, and especially with regards to the green and digital transition. So thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
I'm a little bit sick today, so my voice is not at its best. I'm sorry for that. But thank you for inviting me to our We're in touch before talking about integration of migrants from the another event 6 months ago. Yeah, I'm happy to be here today. I work at the European Trade Institute, but I'm So I will talk as a researcher here, so I'll tell you a little bit about what previous speakers have mentioned, but from a more like evidence perspective, to quantify what they were saying with numbers and figures, and also a little bit shed light on some conceptual aspects of why you see the kind of integration failures or successes, and what are some sort of drivers behind this, and how to tackle them to improve the situation. Let's try. Okay. So yeah, this is my academic background. I'm sorry, but I have to a little bit remind you why we observe, conceptually, that I think someone said exactly the word that we should take into account this diversity of migrants. So we cannot put everyone in the same basket because their reasons of migration is different. The nature of mobility is different. It could be temporary, permanent. It could be forced or voluntary. It could be international or internal within the country. So there are all these different dimensions that one has to take into account before assessing the integration aspect and taking into account all the regulators. And again, this is a bit repeating what's been said before, but the reasons are different too. So you could come for economic reasons to find a job, you can come for studying, you can come as a refugee, you can come also for now, because you also mentioned I'm working a lot on green transition and climate change issues. So there is this, elephant in the room that no one is talking about, but there is climate-induced migration that is being at least discussed in some parts of the academic world and also a little bit in the policy world. Although it's also hard to distinguish the exact reason of migration, because there could be some triggering factors as a result of climate change, drought, inundation, especially for people who are in the agricultural sector and so on, so which might impact economic opportunities in where they live, and then that might push people out of their places. So it's hard. When you ask people why do you migrate, they can say, well, because I have no job, but it could be because of climate or environmental degradation. So this is difficult to distinguish. This is a very quick picture of the composition of migrants in the EU. Unfortunately, a few countries were not in this data set, but this is from 2014. It reflects quite a bit what's going on now, because this is an ad hoc model, it's a specific model of one of the level 4 surveys. So to say that on average half of the migrants are in Europe are there for family reasons, family reunification, or a migrant who is a partner, and about 1/3, 30% is with economic reasons. They are economic reasons that they might or might not have a job at arrival. So and then we have other categories of refugees, students of different magnitudes, relatively small compared to the family migrants. So as I said, understanding the reasons of migration, pull or push factors, why people leave, and why, for what objectives they come to where they go, is complex, and it determines a lot how they perform in the receiving country. So it's, and then after taking this into account, once they migrate, integration is not a guarantee, so it's not a given. And another thing that I don't think I've heard it at this intervention before, there is this return migration thing that no one talks about, but actually if you look at the statistics, a majority of people return back. And that could be a sign of failure of integration that we are not really talking about because they are not in our, at least as researchers, we don't see it in the data anymore. But there is a lot of this going on, especially for internal, like intra-country movers. So something to keep in mind that these are a little bit the invisible migrants that come and they go because something didn't work or they have to go back for other reasons. But, so let me show you. Okay, this is a difficult graph, but it's basically to say that there is this huge gap in terms of earnings between native born, so the people who are not the foreign born, but the native population, versus the migrants, and this is differing a lot with the reason of migration. I mean, not surprising that economic migrants are better off. And one additional remark. It's not in this graph, but I know because I've seen the data. When you just look at the women, it's more exaggerated, these differences. Okay. Someone mentioned, I think, this the feeling of overqualified in the job is again a very common phenomenon with migrants, even worse for women migrants, if they could be employed. So this is a condition on being employed, of course. What else? So this is looking specifically at the women's employment differences compared to women migrants' employment differences compared to native-born population in the EU by country. So you see that. So everyone, or all the countries which are below the means that there is a significant employment gap between immigrant women and native-born women. Only in a few countries it's positive, but this is again an exception. So the general tendency is that women migrants are less likely to be employed than native-born women. Okay, so quickly on the challenges, also minding the time. So we have to put ourselves in the context of the challenges that we are in Belgium, we are in Europe. So let's not go global because there are other issues, but I'll stick to the European case now. So we are facing, some population projection challenges. We know that societies are aging, there are declining growth rates in many European countries, and there are even depopulation, meaning people are leaving also native-born, and there are some areas which no amenities almost left in some parts of Europe, like Romania. There are some regions also in Portugal, in Italy, in some villages. There are literally not many people left. So that implies we are faced with a shrinking workforce and also some significant shortages on labor and skills. So there is a discussion, it's a sensitive discussion about how do we make up for this shortages. Could migration be a solution? Partly, I won't go into detail of that, but it's a sensitive topic because it's also national competence, of course, and every country has their own challenges demographically. But it is a question to be asked, how much migrants can feed that and it could be a win-win because there is a need and they need to be well integrated in migrants. So it's a question to be discussed. But paying attention to some risks, over-education, over-qualification, and the skills mismatches that we often observe. I don't have time to show you the data on that, but I've written also myself. There is big literature showing these, quantifying those mismatches, and many reasons for these kind of mismatches in the labor market, especially for women migrants. So, but one key is these frictions in the transferring of the skills, or this recognition issue of the diplomas that people come with from all fields or all sectors. This is an issue that has been always there, the skills transferability, and it's not going nowhere yet. Although there are efforts to recognize these things, but it's not smooth. I think previous speakers again mentioned this upskilling, reskilling thing, but this is again not happening smoothly. Migrant people are not really having access easily to these kind of opportunities. I think it was Juliana who mentioned that. I'm grateful that this has been raised as an issue, is this issue of intersectionality. So we talk about migrant women today, but I think it's also very important that if you intersect different dimensions of vulnerability, things are just getting actually even more complicated and even more challenging. So imagine a disabled, old migrant woman, it's like the penalization in the labor market is like fourfold. So this is again a call for more targeted intersectional mindset when we think about improving or facilitating integration of these people. Final point here, but again it's a Pandora box and we don't have time for this, but it's also what's happening in the sending region, these issues of rape and when these people migrate, there's also some issue about some skills, some competencies being lost in the sending region. an issue at the global scale, but I don't think it's, we don't have time maybe perhaps today. But it is to keep in mind, okay, some quick policy considerations. I only 2 slides here and I'll stop after. I'm afraid to repeat what's been said, but yeah. My main point would be here to really pay attention to different contexts and different diverse backgrounds that people come with when they migrate. There's different vulnerability dimensions. So that's also why I said policies should be targeted. Policies should try to overcome bureaucratic language, cultural barriers. I mentioned here culture also because it takes really 2 sides for this to work. It's not only from the migrant side, it's also from the civil society side that some things have to move on, otherwise we're going to be stuck where we are. This is the second point is this tied movement, so basically the family lines, partners, let's say often male migrants, really need to pay attention to how we accompany those people. So a lot of skills, a lot of competencies are being lost because they are a little bit aware of their rights, their what kind of opportunities they might have. So this accompanying the tight movers, which often are women, really requires a particular attention. And together with that is the necessity of having timely, affordable child and elderly care. Childcare is clearly the case for young women, but also elderly care, because with aging societies, again, some middle to middle-aged women, depending on when their parents were born, but there is this elderly care issue that is also, they might stop to work because they have to take care of their parents and so on. So it's all these things that go hand in hand. Perhaps one last thing about the student migrants. The student, this is a little bit also not paid so much attention to. Having been one myself some decades ago, I know how these things a little bit work from personal experience, but it's really not easy when you come as a migrant to study. And if you want to stay, it's not an easy path. Depending on where you are, which country you come to study, it's not an easy path to be able to work in the country where you are. So there are a lot of bureaucratic barriers. They don't want to change your status from student to worker. So again, everything to discourage you, to leave the labor market or go back or go somewhere else. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so I mentioned the research notes. And finally, and this is because I work at the Trade Union Institute. Again, I'm a researcher, but I know colleagues at the trade unions. They are doing at least initiatives that try to engage with migrants from a trade union perspective. How can trade unions engage more with migrants, workers, especially women, of course. So this is a little, I see here there's an opportunity also for trade unions, which are facing their own challenges with the declining union rate. So here I see some opportunities for trade unions to really approach migrant workers who are really the ones who need more support, to know about their rights, to also represent their voice, because trade unions represent the voice of workers, so also it's important to also represent the voice of migrant workers. And I think there are some new and, not new, but innovative ways of reaching out to, with social media and all these digital tools. It's not only that, like in the past, you try to meet people in the factory. Of course you can, but you can also find other ways. I think this is important to really reach out to those hard-to-reach migrant workers, especially women. There is this union migrant net network that I wanted to highlight, and I'll stop there after. Sorry. It's initiated by ETUI, our confederation, and they do this network together with other trade unions from member states, migrant associations, and economic enterprises. And the idea is to give really like a one-stop shop sort of information to migrant workers. And they have brochures, booklets in different languages, really to reach out languages that are mostly represented in the countries where they are operating and where migrants are mostly coming from. So is really trying to reach out to these people. I understood that they are like telling them, you know, about labor rights, worker rights, and other social rights that they have that they want aware of. So they need to support them. It's completely free. It's online. So this is perhaps to be, you know, to be seen as an opportunity for the future to facilitate further integration of migrants. And one last one. Labor and social integration goes hand in hand. So we talk a lot about labor market migration, integration, sorry. But I think there is other thing that is social integration. It really goes together. I find it hard to imagine one without the other. So I think it should be also kept in mind. Sorry for the length. I hope it was good. And I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is really interesting. And yes, indeed, so today, because we're in the framework of the Worldplaces project, we're focusing on labor market integration, but like you just said, we need holistic approaches because it's intertwined. I don't remember which speaker spoke about access to housing, access to health. If you don't have access to these basic rights, you cannot even focus on finding employment. And of course, political participation or civic participation is the ultimate goal of a successful integration where you're fully part of society and you can really have your space. So thank you so much again, and I think I will call back the speakers depending on the time we have in the end for the Q&A, so thank you. And now we call immediately the next speaker, who is Eva Valentova. So Eva has been working for 15 years in the NGO Association for Integration and Migration. It's called CIMI, which is a member organization of the European Network of Migrant Women. So you have occupied various positions, and now you're a program director, and you specialize in issues related to the integration of migrants, especially at the local level, and the development of intercultural services. And I think you've been working through the Eurocities project, specifically with the city of Prague, on programs for integration. So welcome, thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, it's working. Thank you a lot for the invitation. And as it was said, our organization is a long member of the European Network of Migrant Women, but we don't have sufficient opportunities to participate at the common events, so I'm very glad to be here. Besides telling you what our organization or how is the context in the Czech Republic regarding inclusion and access of migrant women to labor market, I would start with a short reflection of our study visit at the ETUI project in Verona, because we are the lucky ones to be selected in a small group of 4 members from the Migrant Women Network to go through the entire process of the manufacturer at the ETUI, and also visiting their Worldplaces partners at the local level. And I have to say they are doing really an outstanding work. So we collected quite a few good practices or inspirations that are really worth of being replicated, even though we can also identify various challenges and transferability of their practices, but still it's really great to have this opportunity to see how it works somewhere else, and also to recognize that there are members of promoting the very same values as we do, and striving to support migrant women and other vulnerable groups, also not from the bottom, but in connection with various stakeholders. Just briefly to say who was at the visit, so it was my organization CIMI from the Czech Republic, then we had our partner from three points that really struck our attention during the visit and the grid were, first of all, that they created a concept of sustainable fashion business, which provides not only employment to vulnerable groups and migrant women, but they also try help them to integrate socially. Like it was already mentioned, maybe that they created a welfare desk which works individually with each employee, and they assess their individual needs and specific integration struggles. So it was something that was really amazing to see how they really work on a very individual level with each employee to keep them in the work process despite of the challenges. And also they created this peer support program with migrant women coordinators who actually became so much like amplified in their competencies that I can say they now like are in the role of the role models of the resilience and self-confidence, self-esteem, and these are the values that are very important to be spread among vulnerable migrant workers. Then the other fact was that we could see how the grid is cooperating with the municipality, which is quite unique for us, in particular from countries in the Central Europe, because the municipality has an employment unit, and so they provide also individual support to job seekers, including migrants, and they provide language courses and other services. They cooperate with other stakeholders at the local level. And what was interesting also that it was the municipality that was funding this activity for a long time, and now I think it's funded by the regional authority, so it still stays at the local level. And like I appreciate the ownership they take over the issue and the agenda of integrating vulnerable groups, which, for example, in our region we cannot really see that because, for example, municipalities do not have any legal obligation to deal with migrants integration as such, but even broadly, the municipalities, they even don't have established diversity, inclusion, or other similar agendas. So for us, as the non-profit sector, it's quite a tough work to explain to them why these agendas should be included in their infrastructures, and also the question of funding is very crucial. So there is a long way to go in other regions to teach, to train municipalities, motivate them, and also to help them methodologically, because the government doesn't do that. Where to, for example, find the funds and like practical tools on developing these practices. I can say that at least in the Czech Republic and Poland we can see quite progressive and positive movements because of the war in Ukraine. So we can say that in some way in our region the war and also before the COVID pandemic they brought a lot of opportunities how to talk more about inclusion of these diverse vulnerable groups. And now during the war in Ukraine, it's the focus is of course on the refugees, and the gender dimension of this refugee wave is so significant that it finally opens, it's an eye-opener for many stakeholders to see that migrant women have specific needs, that they are not the same as the needs of migrant men or of the mainstream society. So we try to train the most possible these municipalities and other service providers who, for example, hire Ukrainian coordinators. But what they are missing is the transfer of competencies, also the interculturality, intersectionality that was mentioned here, and all these aspects that are needed to be developed in the diverse infrastructures. So this is a part of our work, for example, and also the welfare of these Ukrainian coordinators, because they are also affected by the war in their personal lives. And we see that the burnout is always at the ourselves and other organizations with support or supervision, but we also train the employers in the public sector that they should care about the mental health of their employees, not only those affected by the war, but also all those involved in social services, for example. And the last point from the grid, sorry, I'm not using grid and other activities, but it's very interconnected, and you can also see that the practices can be very similar in different contexts. The last point, and very crucial, is, sorry, I just need to get water, is that grid cooperates with community and cultural spaces in Verona, and it was very touching, like what they created. You could see it in the video at the beginning, the atmosphere that is created in these spaces, and there we can see that it is, in many times it is important to start with giving migrant women opportunities to socialize, to create their new social life, as migration can be a very isolating phenomenon or aspect in their lives, and so they can, in these premises in Verona, bond their or create their contacts, their communities through crafting, artistic activities, cooking, and any other using their other skills. They can, or they just can informally interact, which is still important for them to build their self-esteem and self-confidence, and then get ready for being prepared to enter in also the labor market. And I can say that we have a very similar experience in the Czech Republic, in Prague, where we cooperate also, like we organize ourselves with, we call it empowerment workshops, where we give the roles, active roles to migrant women. They can bring their topics they want to discuss. They can also help the roles of facilitators, lecturers, or community leaders. And it brings really them to the estimation that, yeah, I have some skills, I have some capacities, I can share my personal story. And for example, storytelling concept is something that works very well with the mainstream society, which in our region is very hostile towards migrants. And through the personal stories and personal experiences, we bring the human dimension of migration, which is very dehumanized by the media, but also politicians. So I would say that these were three aspects very inspirative at the GRID project, and I hope they will continue doing their great job. And we are taking also our lessons, in particular how to develop cooperation with communities, but also how to keep on working on the empowerment of women and building their resilience, because then they become also much better positioned at the labor market and strive for their labor rights, which are at a high risk in our region. The labor exploitation and fraudulent supply chains are omnipresent, so there is still a lot of work to do, in particular at the advocacy level and shaping the system, but we need also to change the culture and the mind of the so-called beneficiaries or the people that are affected by inequalities at the labor market.
Thank you so
I
much.
tried to be quick, I'm sorry.
No, it was perfect actually. It's 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining and for your presentation. I think the work indeed at local level is very relevant for this issue because, as it was mentioned by all of the speakers, I think there is a need for very individual assessment, acknowledging differences, and this is something that is more easily done at local level versus more regional. And also I think one of the many relevant points that you mentioned is the need for socialization. This is something that is really shared amongst our member organizations. that because migrant women, when they arrive in Europe, they face more barriers accessing employment, they have a burden of care, and also they may not speak the language, they may not know anyone in the country. So basically there is an issue with engagement when we bring them to programs to lead them towards employment or other skills. And what we find is that the programs must be pleasant. The women must want to come because it's a nice space where they can meet other people, etc. And then the will to commit to a program comes afterwards. And actually, if you're working with this target audience, through this Worldplaces project, we produced a toolkit on migrant women engagement, which gives practical tips on how to work with migrant women and especially how to mitigate those problematic that we see in every context. That, for instance, they are not committing for long-term programs, especially if they don't have a stable legal status. So there are a few concrete ways how you can mitigate this and work meaningfully with this target group. We have a few of these toolkits here, and they're available on our website, migrantwomennetwork.org. Thank you again, Eva. And we will have now the last speaker. We can clap for her. So last but not least, I will introduce Farhana Akhtar. Farhana, you come from Bangladesh. Now you live in Lisbon. And you have a master's degree in chemistry, and now you work as an intercultural mediator. So basically you're actively supporting migrants and refugees for several years now, and you foster inclusivity and understanding, and you're the co-founder of a cooperative which is named Bandim, and this cooperative empowers migrant women through cultural exchange and creativity. So thank you so much for joining us, Farhana, and now the floor is yours. Supporting migrants and refugees.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, can I speak like this? Is it okay? For the back. Well, it is very short time to introduce the cooperative and the work, but I will try very quickly. So, Bandim, the name is very interesting because it seems in another way a platform that is to grow. So Bandim has two meanings in India and in Guinea. We chose the Indian meaning that given for people who need land to grow crops for their food. So we consider Bandi as a platform that whatever you are and wherever you are, you can take this platform to apply your knowledge and grow. Well, so I will go through a short. Who we are. We are a cooperative of mostly with immigrant and refugee women, and we present a creative brand which is called Bati, and we have collective works which represents art and culture. Art and culture that comes from our own roots, from our countries, as well as from where we are at right now in Portugal. And we are autonomous since, regulated since 2023, it's very new. We are 82 corporates right now from 21 nationalities. Well, the story actually started late 2022 almost, end of COVID, and we had a lot of challenges that a lot financial, employment situation, lack of regularization, language, communication issues, also the cultural facts, communication. Because of COVID, all these problems were much more than normal. Well,
There are a lot of other issues too as women that we have in common housing, family responsibilities, lots of other barriers, restrictions, emotional, lot more other things. But we focus on basically financial, because people need money to survive, housing issues and everything. They need money, and we have seen women have a lot more vulnerable when in terms of financial. So we thought a cooperative collectively, maybe we can solve our issue. So the first concept was to solve our financial problem. Well, why cooperative? Because individually, you have to face a lot of bureaucracy when you go to solve your financial issue. As an immigrant, it is really hard. That's why we thought to set up a cooperative that collectively maybe it will be easier for us to solve our problems. Well, so some strategies that we have adapted in all these our times, that we have to be a member of the cooperative, and that membership is very easy. We set up only to buy 3 shares, which is €5 each at €15, which is refundable, and people can contribute €35 per year. Well, this amount is nothing, but also we can give opportunity if you don't have money at all. Yes, many women have, they have skills. So we give them floor to work, earn, and then pay this amount. This is like this. So there are a lot more stories to set up behind this strategy. And as a corporate, we are not employees, so we contribute to run the cooperative by ourselves. In this way, every corporate contributes 3 hours per week and regulate our shop, our office, in our activities, everything. This way, the main goal is everyone will learn the regulation process, administration, and contribute, and maybe next election, new people will come as a president, new board members, and new ideas. So we always try to do this combination. And there are small groups of corporates. Some are active group regulating shops and officina. There are some other groups which are working background, social media group, board of members. So there are different groups working. Some have skills, they work on researching a project or writing, all this. Well, now this is also not enough. We have to, of course, communicate with the local and public sectors. For example, Duke the Freguesia, Camara municipality, because they have some support, some policies that help. And our spaces actually comes from our Freguesia, which gives us the space to work and develop. Because the local has some local integration development supports, and we can take help from them. And then we have partners with other organizations that are non-government NGOs, as well as the commercial partners. So we have to work, and that work comes from them. But the support comes from the NGOs and their funding. So we connect with many other projects that brings what we need, because we may need regularization. It's not only money. So commercial institutions gives us work, and we work for them, and also we connect with other NGOs who has projects to integrate immigrants, and then we get our support. And also collectively, we need integration, not only regularization, but also to know the culture and mix with the host community. So the project gives us that opportunity. And workshops. Workshops to develop ourselves, and workshops also to give. That means we consider each corporate an artifact. So they have a cultural knowledge which is unique, which is to preserve. And that's why each corporate has the capacity to give the workshop, give the knowledge to the community. That is one. And second, we need our trainings too for development and for those who don't know the other techniques. So we have both type of workshops. And project funding. As 1 year of age, we have only one project, that is BC from municipality. And through this workshop, we get certified trainings for the corporates.
new and the existing ones. And the unique strategy that I must say is very good, that we continue, because when we started with open days, free workshops. During COVID, it was even hard, but we continue in small groups where migrant women are, to help them understand that what you know can be a source of income. From Asia, for example, women, everyone knows sewing. So they didn't consider this knowledge can be also a way of earning, way of income. And so we showed them this way, and they started joining slowly. And now we are 82. So these open days and workshops for integrating more people. So we do workshops in anywhere we get opportunity. For example, an event is happening in the park, well, we apply and do. In the fairs, local fairs, we go there. Even in other associations where they would like to host us because they are dealing with immigrant women too, we go there. And open days in Bandim space, first Friday every month, if you will go, it is free, and have whatever we have for that day. Well. So, not much, but we also have some achievements. We have 2 officina, which we don't pay the rent. We have it from local frequency from municipality. And we have 1 shop in a small market that to display our product, because we not only do the orders, partners from others, but we also launch our own collections. I will come up a bit late of it. And associated partners, that we have almost 8 associated partners and almost 4 commercial partners that they are regularly giving us. But in local base, it's not very big. And yes, we have a project. Until now, we have launched several of our collections. So the first collection we thought to integrate our individual, culture and also local. So we thought bacalhau, which is very special to Portuguese, is wow for them. And we put our knowledge, and it's a good collection. Then we have Sintra migration story, and we have flowers of your own country. And now we are on going of work, which is garden. So this type of collections, every product has a story. Every collection has a story. And this is why Bandim is totally unique. And there is no second copy of the product unless you order it. There is only 1 copy. And it maybe sometimes 1 product has several technicians doing it, several techniques applied it. So you are buying a story when you are buying a product.
Can you conclude, because we have
Thank you. Well, so still now we have a lot of dreams. So we want to recognize ourselves as an international brand and creating cultural space for research. Research based, because I told we are unique, and the techniques should be preserved, and that's why already we are ongoing signing protocol with Nova University, so that almost many researchers and universities can know about it and include in their plans and ideas. And also we have local projects. Maybe we would like to also partner you and other projects of European countries. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of the speakers. Unfortunately, we do not have time to take questions, but the speakers are around. So really feel free to come to them and to introduce yourself and to talk to them directly. And now we will enter the more creative aspects of the day. We'd like Anna presented earlier. We will have now a choir from Ukraine who is going to sing for us. So we will just very quickly move these tables, and we will welcome you to the stage. Thank you, everyone.
quiet Dola. It consists of Ukrainian women who came here, fled the war in Ukraine and came to Brussels, and they sing only for 2 hours together, for 2 years, sorry, for 2 years together. And they're not professional, they're all amateurs, but they all are connected with the Ukrainian culture and they love to Ukrainian song. And so they would like to represent you, our culture and our history in the Ukrainian songs. Please welcome.
Червона калина похилилася, чомусь наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей розвеселимо. А ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей розвеселимо. Марширують наші добровольці у кривавий там, визволяти братів українців з ворожих кайдан. А ми наших братів українців визволимо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей розвеселимо. А ми наших братів українців визволимо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей розвеселимо. Не хилися, червона калина, маєш білий цвіт, не журися, славна Україна, маєш вільний рід. А ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей розвеселимо. А ми тую червону калину підіймемо, а підем разом по барвінок, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти казала у вівторок, поцілуй шарі 40, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти казала. Тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, молодого з народом звела, ти казала у четвер, підем разом по шабель, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти казала у п'ятницю, підем разом по п'ятницю, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти казала у суботу, підем разом на роботу, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, ти казала у неділю, підем разом на весілля, я прийшов, тебе нема, підманула, підвела, ти ж мене підманула, ти ж мене підвела, ти ж мене молодого з народом звела, я тебе підманула, я тебе підвела, я тебе молодого з народом звела. Щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівка, стала собі щедрика, господаря викликати. Вийди, вийди, господарю, подивися на кошару, там овечки покотились, а ягнички народились. Тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей. Тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей. Тебе жінка чорноброва, гроші гроші до голова. Тебе жінка чорноброва, щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівочка, стала собі щедрикати, господаря викликати. Вийди, вийди, господарю, подивися на кошару, там овечки покотились, а ягнички народились. Тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей. Тебе товар весь хороший, будеш мати мірку грошей. Тебе жінка чорноброва, хоче гроші до голова. Тебе жінка чорноброва, щедрик, щедрик, щедрівочка, прилетіла ластівочка.
Thank you so much to all of the singers. It was amazing. And it gives a little bit of energy after this morning. And now we can move towards lunch. Lunch will be served downstairs. And for those who have a token, you have one free drink at the bar. So you can go directly to the bar and exchange your token for a drink. I don't know, Valerie, you have some announcement to make? Or final words?
Well, thank you very much, but I think we've already thanked everyone. For those who are attending the workshops, we're going to reconvene here at 1 p.m. We are going to divide into groups. we have to be here at 1 p.m. sharp to make sure we can complete all the activities by the time we need to leave the venue. You can bring your desserts with you if you want, so we can have a sweet start in the afternoon. And thank you very much again, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.